Okay. All right, my virtual people, I'm sorry. I didn't abandon you. Somebody tried to grab my attention out in the hallway. Okay, not naming names. All right, so here's what we got. Let's hit the highlights and make sure I go over my list of reminders. So obviously, top priority is review for midterm. Tomorrow is actually taking the midterm. All right. Busting it out. It is a nice, solid 90 questions. Again, I did cut it down from what I originally wanted, but it's about as low as I could get it with meeting everything we've discussed since January from Wild West, which I don't think there's even, but maybe a couple of questions of Wild West. Most everything else is from like chapter 12, city and big business stuff on through. It stops at 1920. That's the last thing that we talked about was the 1920s. That was last week. Again, across the board, regardless of whether you're A day, B day, a 4-dayer, virtually only, everybody across the board has the same two options and opportunities, whether you would rather take it paper and pencil, or whether you would take it, anyway, you get what I'm saying. If you would rather take it virtually through SchoolNet or paper pencil, that is the option. I had several online only people that came in the afternoon last semester because they would rather do it on paper and pencil. So again, you have the option, whatever floats your boat, whatever you think would make you more successful. So today we'll hit bell ringer. Again, I want to make sure I go over just a couple more reminders of what's coming up. And then we've got a review game, and then just a quick review of the actual test questions themselves. And then we will be out. I'm going to wait until tomorrow to post and put up all of your next unit stuff, because after we finish midterm, our next topics, that you do have a combo unit coming up of chapter 18 and 19, which is the great causes of the Great Depression, and then the Great Depression and the New Deal with FDR. So that's coming. And again, I hate that for my pacing purposes, we will start into World War II right before spring break, and then we'll have to finish it afterwards. I don't want to rush through anything, and that's probably how the cookie's going to crumble on that one. So anyway, that's what we have coming up. We got a solid 3 weeks. 3 weeks until we get to spring break. So we got light coming at the end of the tunnel. We got a break coming up, and then as soon as we come back from spring break, it is going to be a sprint to the finish. We are close. We are close. I haven't counted the weeks, but I'm pretty sure we're getting to the single digit week count. So we did push progress reports back since you just did get report cards. So progress reports aren't going to come out until next week. I think that sounds right. So A-Day students will get progress reports Tuesday of next week. B-Day will get them Wednesday of next week. And then if you're virtual only, then you'll get them mailed out Wednesday of next week. So progress reports are coming. We are halfway through the second 6 weeks. It's crazy. It's flying by. This is it. All right, that's what I got for you. And don't forget, I was watching a lot of these yesterday. If you posted it early, just because I think it's entertaining. But don't forget your 1920s skit videos. Get those in along with your written dialogue. Okay. All right, let's do it. Bell ringer question. I'm going to share it with you, and then we'll roll on with the rest of our day. Bell ringer question, a review from where we wrapped up last week. Sorry. Be nice if I actually hit it. There it is. Why do you think there was so much crime and people completely disregarding a brand new amendment, the 18th Amendment and prohibition? What you got for me this morning? Somebody talk to me. What we got?
Obviously, the people who were drinking before the 18th Amendment didn't like it, and there were a bunch of enraged drunks. And the people who opposed the drunks, they would fight back like both ways. Like the people who said it was bad would kind of go against people who thought it was like good and nothing was wrong with it, while they were,
Yeah.
what, and they were just disregarding it because they didn't really care for the people who were still doing it, and plus there wasn't really too much enforcement for that.
Yeah, I like how you said several things in that. So the big thing is the issue over mandating what is proper behavior, you know, what you yourself deem as socially appropriate or good moral behavior, because we almost see like another religious awakening with so many preachers and religious individuals coming out and talking about the sins of alcohol. And then again, the whole idea of dictating what is proper behavior, what people should be allowed to do. Again, if it's something that you've been used to doing and just overnight it's been taken away from you, how hard are you going to fight against that? And that was a great point. The idea of it not being enforced the way that it should. I was going to bring up something to relate to it modern day, but I don't want to get into a debate over anything this morning. It's too early. But yeah, the issue of it being enforced. There are a lot of law enforcement agencies, and I'm going to throw an example of Al Capone in Chicago. A lot of law enforcement agencies that individuals were on the payroll with Al Capone and his gang buddies, that they would show up. And that's exactly what went down with the St. Valentine's Day massacre, is that Al Capone's guys were supposed to be in an alley packing up alcohol, getting ready to take it to a location. And it was not uncommon for law enforcement individuals to come up on a known area and bust them. And all that would be done is somebody's going to slip somebody else some cash, and then they're going to let them go about their day. I mean, that was not uncommon. Well, on this particular incident, it was not legit police officers. Even though they were dressed up like police officers, that's not who they really were, which you know, if you had paid attention, you would have known, because one of them was carrying a Tommy gun, which was not a law enforcement issued gun. But anyway, so those individuals that were from a rival gang completely massacred all of Al Capone's guys. And it was a bloody show. It was all in the newspapers. They called it the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. But that was just one of many examples of how wrong things had, or how far things had gotten with going against the 18th Amendment. So the idea of regulating social behavior, the idea of it not, I mean, even though there were laws put in place to enforce it, but it was not heavily being enforced. So anyway, that's all I want to say about that, because we need to get moving this morning. All right, so we are going to play a review game prior to going through the actual review test questions. So I tried to pick one that was pretty short, sweet, and to the point. I borrowed this from another teacher. I didn't go in and totally recreate it, but let's do it. I had a request for Kahoot, so we're going to Kahoot it this morning. You know, hopefully you guys weren't haters on my Jeopardy game that I worked so hard on, but we're going to Kahoot it this morning. We're going to see how you do, test your knowledge, and then I'm going to hit you with some test questions that are on your exam for tomorrow. So give everybody a minute. Join me if you will, please. So you can join or you can just follow along, but it's always more fun if you actually play it.
Are these going to be some of the questions that are going to be on the test?
So yeah, I mean, the Kahoot game is pretty short. Obviously, it doesn't have all 90 questions on it, but yeah, it's pieces picked from the different units we've discussed all semester. Got some people jumping on here. All right, here we go. Give everybody just one last minute.
I gotta look it up on my phone because my Wi-Fi's not working.
Right, I know. I'm crossing my fingers that mine stays with me long enough to get this review in and done.
They need to like upgrade it or something. Do something.
They need to like do a Wi-Fi for like each hallway or something, like split it up so we're not all on the same one.
Something.
Like on the same router, because that's what slows it down.
That's why it makes it so slow, because we're all on our computers now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know. And you would think no one going into this situation.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. If anybody else jumps in, great. If not, we need to go ahead and get into this so that we can get into the second half of our review. Okay. All right, I'm gonna scoot this out of the way just a little bit that way I can see. There we go. We'll move it down. Okay. All right, if you're still trying to jump in, that's fine. Just join us if you can. Let's do it. Here we go. I got to get the sound effects. It's not fun without the sound. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is the only one that's a little early. Okay, so that was an early one. That's one that I don't know that it's been a while since we reviewed, but like I said, I had to borrow this one for time's sake. But the rest are on point with what we've already discussed. Okay, here we go. All right, good question. By the end of the 19th century, the U.S. government had forced blank to live on reservations. Don't embarrass yourselves. Y'all know this one. There we go. Okay, making me proud. Up next, during the second industrial revolution, the Standard Oil Company was founded by who? Standard Oil. Who was it? Don't say it out loud. Just think it. There we go. There we go. Andrew Carnegie, responsible for Carnegie Steel as well as what? What did he do being a philanthropist? It's a good word. There we go. Yep. Preaching the idea that if you have money, it's not bad. Because as a philanthropist, he is giving away money to start like Carnegie Hall, pushing for libraries, things like that. Okay. All right, up next, Samuel Gompers, the AFL and the Knights of Labor all tried to influence what? Think about labor unions. There we go. There we go. All right, Tammany Hall was a good example of what? Tammany Hall. Think about Boss Tweed and the Tweed Ring, New York City. All right, political machines. You got several questions that'll be on there about political machines. Teddy Roosevelt maintained what type of diplomacy? What was the name of his diplomacy? Look at the picture for assistance. Big stick policy. All right, open door policy allowed free trade with who? Free trade with who? Open door policy. Again, use the picture. There you go. See? See? There you go. All right, Spanish-American War began following what? What went down? Use that picture. There we go, USS Maine. All right, the U.S. began drafting citizens for the military after the passing of what? What do we call it? What was the formal name for the draft? There we go. All right, Harlem Renaissance was a cultural movement of what time period? Just talked about it, guys. Just talked about it. Man, here we go. Sacco and Vanzetti, we also talked about them last week. What happened? What were they known for? What went down? Okay, so yeah. So I'll accept. All right, here I do want to talk about this really super quick because you're going to see something similar to this pop up yesterday. And here's what I mean by that. You're going to see a few questions. I don't think I did it that many times to you, but you're going to see questions that have a lot of good answers, but there's always going to be a better answer. There's always going to be a better answer. Do you know that they do that? I don't know that they necessarily do it for fun. I think they do. But the EOCs are super bad about doing that. They have like a ton of good answers, but they want you to pick the better answer. Yeah, it's like y'all are evil. Hey, do you know, little random thing that, and this was years ago back when American history actually did have an EOC, that it, we had heard people, rumors really, talking about how it was former teachers that come up with a lot of these questions for EOCs and stuff, and that some of them, I don't know if they like are in competition with other teachers to say, ooh, your question's good. Watch my question. My question's going to be better than your question. And we're like, now, come on now. Y'all need to take it easy because these are high school kids taking these tests, right? Okay. Y'all didn't think that was entertaining. All right, a few more questions. Henry Ford, talked about him last week too. Henry Ford, what's he known for? Henry Ford. Yeah, lots of good answers on that one. The assembly line is what we hit the hardest last week. Yeah, lots of potential good answers on that one. All right, prohibition outlawed the buying, selling, manufacture of what? What is it? There we go. All right, what had to accept who had to accept responsibility for World War I as part of the treaty? Who was it? Who was it? Y'all need to make me proud. I know it's been a week, but come on. There we go. All right, last few questions. Theodore Roosevelt set aside thousands of acres of federal land for conservation during his presidency. True or false? Yes, there we go. Worked on conservation. All right, last few questions. What invention ended the era of the open range and impacted the lives of settlers and Native Americans? It's a good one. What came about? 1876. 1876. Barbed wire. Good. Ooh, let's build upon this. Who was it that invented barbed wire? Ah, man. Joseph Glidden.
Are we going to know a bunch of names like for the midterm?
We're getting ready to go through the actual test questions in 2 more minutes. Yep.
Well, not Google names.
What? All right, the U.S. had the right to intervene with force to prevent European interference. Thanks to what? What do we again? Use the picture as inspiration. You should notice my man TR up there. What did TR come up with? What did he come up with? Roosevelt corollary. Yep. That was probably one of the most missed questions from the chapter 14-15 combo test on progressives and imperialism. Roosevelt's new foreign policy is the Roosevelt corollary. All right, last two questions maybe? All right, the 17th Amendment, direct election of senators, and 19th women's suffrage occurred during what era? There we go, progressives. All right, last but not least. Oh, sorry, we'll stop there. I didn't create this. That's not me, obviously. That's not, y'all can just pick random stuff. Just maybe pretend that's me, maybe. Oh, look at y'all. Look at y'all. Okay. All right, what is this? What's happening here? Oh. Look, oh. Who is it? Right there. Man, okay. All right, we killed it. We killed it. We did it. Okay. All right, let's move on. Let me do the volume. Cut that off. Okay. All right, here we go. So again, we would be here all day if I made a game that went over the whole entire test. So that's not really feasible. It doesn't really make sense. But what I do want to do is hit you with as much as we can possibly squeeze in. I'm going to set a time limit for myself. We'll see how far we can get in going through this in the next 15 minutes. And that way, if you have questions, comments, or concerns, we'll have time for all that at the very end as well. Okay, all right. So, like I said, I kind of limited stuff from the very beginning just because it's a lot. It's a lot. And I hit you harder on the more recent stuff. The biggest thing being hitting you on amendments. Yeah, there are a lot of people on here. Amendments, people, and events, and a couple of court cases thrown in between. Okay. All right, so let's do this. Oh, and I will say that it is mostly multiple choice with a couple of true false. That's the only difference. There's a few true false thrown in there. Don't let those trip you up. And that's why I want you to make sure that you're paying attention and reading these questions. Don't fly through it. Because you can actually make the mistake I did. And Kayla caught me on the mistake I made on the study guide last week. I didn't finish reading the question, so I gave you the wrong answer for it. I'm not counting off because I did that. That was my fault. But it was because I did not finish reading the full question. I assumed I knew what it was. And even I shouldn't have done that. I know better. All right, let's do this. Let's go through this and see how you do. And this is the early stuff. Let's see. The United States had surpassed this nation as the world's industrial leader. What country, I'll give you a hint, what mother country did we kick their tail in? They had previously been an industrial leader, and then we're like, watch this, mic drop. Yes, Great Britain, fantastic. All right, the light bulb is going to be invented by this guy. Light bulb. Thomas Edison. Very good. All right, best process is going to give Andrew Carnegie a technique which will help him mass produce steel. So the Bessemer process is a way of changing iron into steel. I'm just going to have to give that one to you because it'd be too hard for me to say it and then make you guess it. All righty, let's keep rolling. Let's see. Oh, okay. All right, and I'll just throw this out there. There are several questions that'll say which of the following was not the right answer. Again, pay attention to the wording. All right, so 3 captains of industry that we focused on the most. I'll give you one, Rockefeller. Who are the other 2 that we focused on the most? Carnegie? Vanderbilt. Yes, Vanderbilt. Those are the 3 captains of industry that we focused on the most. Very good. Let's see. All right, this is a tough one. This is a good one. This is the type of company that exists only to own other companies. And big businesses would use these as a way to not be called a monopoly, to get away with not being considered a monopoly. They're holding companies.
Horizontal integration? Vertical integration?
I just gave you the answer. Holding companies. Yeah, holding companies.
Wait, so type of company that exists of companies owning companies?
Oh, hold on. You got too wordy with it. Type of company that exists only to own other companies. It's a holding company. All right. Let's go through our captains of industry. Rockefeller. What company does he have? Rockefeller does oil. Thank you. Rockefeller does oil. We already said that Carnegie does steel and Vanderbilt does railroads. Very good. Has a monopoly on railroads. Fantastic. Good. All right. What is the theory that the best businessman will rise to the top?
Darwinism.
Social Darwinism. Social Darwinism. The idea of the survival of the fittest. Very good. Fantastic. All right. Let's see. What is a method that's used by business owners when it comes to workers? What is something that a business owner would do to workers if they were striking or boycotting or whatever?
Replacement.
Looks like that. Bus, something.
All right, so they might do, what'd you say? No, closed shop is where you only hire workers that are members of labor unions. But a lockout, they might do a lockout. They might blacklist them. Or the other thing they might do is hire replacement workers, they call it scabs, or get a court injunction, which is a court order. All right, let's see. What type of worker did the Knights of Labor accept? Knights of Labor were the very first labor union.
Like specifically skilled, like a certain skill. Or was it all?
Knights of Labor took everybody, and that's what they thought one of the mistakes was, is that they didn't take specific skilled, which is the AFL will take only skilled workers. Which man led the industrial union movement? And he also is going to run in the 1896 election and the 1901 election as an American Socialist candidate.
Is it McKinley?
He runs as the Republican. Eugene V. Debs will run as the American Socialist candidate and also is known as the Industrial Union Movement leader. Eugene V. Debs. And he was actually a test question on chapter 12 and I think the 14-15. Let's see. Continuing on.
You said that he was a socialist president and what?
No, he wasn't president. He was a candidate. Yes.
And what?
The industrial union leader. All right, type of business where you control all the supply of a product. Monopoly. There we go. This is a method of forming monopolies by combining several companies into one. This is what Rockefeller did. Horizontal integration. So you can probably guess what's coming with the next one. This is a method of forming big business that controls all industries that relate to that primary. Vertical integration. Okay, those are both on there. Good. Let's see. What is one of the biggest industries that farmers were pushing for the Interstate Commerce Act to regulate?
The railroads.
Railroads. Good. All right, we already did the AFL. Say it again. American Federation of Labor accepted what type of workers?
Skilled.
Only skilled. Good. Ooh, follow-up question. Who is the leader of the AFL? Told you, it does have people on here. Anybody? Oh, I'm missing questions in the chat. Whoopsie. Oh, okay. Okay. Samuel Gompers. Samuel Gompers is over the AFL. Let's see. Philosophy that people should help those that are less fortunate. Social gospel. Social gospel. Yeah, it just depends. It depends on, like, when it says gospel of wealth, and he was talking about Carnegie, he's doing it more to try not to look as much of a bad guy as he really was, like being a philanthropist. But he wasn't necessarily doing it because he really wanted to help. I don't know. That one's kind of you got to be careful in the wording. Specifically helping those less fortunate, social gospel. Let me leave it at that. All right, we've done the true false. Oh, okay. All right. Again, this is one of which of the following did not keep African Americans from voting? So what 3 things are going to help them to vote? Keep them from voting.
Yeah, grandfather clause, literacy test.
And poll taxes. Yes. Thank you. There we go. 3 things that kept them from voting: poll taxes, literacy clause, and I just said those.
The grandfather.
Golly, I did. Literacy test, grandfather clause, poll tax. All right. What did Jim Crow laws do?
Segregation.
Yeah, they like legalized segregation.
There you go. Legalized segregation. Yes, fantastic. What was the name given to the reformers of the early 1900s? Mostly middle-class Americans trying to make change. Did y'all say it already and I missed it? Progressives. Yeah, sorry. Progressives. Women like Susan B. Anthony were fighting for what new amendment? Which is what number? 19th Amendment, women's suffrage. Good deal. All right, imperialist movement. What was the imperialist movement all about? What can we summarize to say imperialist movement? What are we trying to do? Expand territories, colonies. There you go. All right, we just saw it as a review question. What president's foreign policy was known as the big stick policy? TR, Roosevelt. Yes, make sure that you know it is Theodore Roosevelt. I had somebody get messed up on something and put FDR. That's not the right Roosevelt. That's a repeat question. There's a couple of repeat questions on here, which I guess could be considered good. All right, muckraker. Who's a muckraker? We talked about 3 in particular.
Doesn't start. Is it Joseph something?
There's a girl, is it
Ida Tarbell. Ida Tarbell talks about Standard Oil.
Jacob Rees.
Somebody writes the book The Jungle.
Which one's the one that talk about like the
Upton Sinclair.
Meatpacking writes The Jungle. That's Upton Sinclair. And then Lincoln Steffens, who writes about political machines. Those are our muckrakers.
What's the last name you said? You said Sinclair, and what was the other guy?
Lincoln Steffens. Steffins. Lincoln Steffens.
Who else? Tarbell, Steffens, and who?
Sinclair. What politician was able to implement primaries, initiatives, and referendums? They called him Fighting Bob. He was a governor from Wisconsin. Had a French last name. That's how I always remember him. Robert La Follette. Robert La Follette.
What'd you say you did again?
He's the one that gives the idea for direct primaries, initiatives, and referendums. He's the one that pushes those voting changes. The government agency that we got after Upton Sinclair writes his book, The Jungle.
Oh, the FDA.
FDA, Food and Drug.
How do you say it? The Robert
La Follette. So it's capital L, lowercase a, and it's 2 words. So La space capital Ollette.
And then what was the one you just said about the FDA?
What government agency comes from the book The Jungle? That's the FDA. All right, Supreme Court cases. Who's ready for some Supreme Court cases? And this is actually in a couple of your Google slide notes, but it's been a while, I realize that. Supreme Court case which first placed limits on women's working hours. That's Mueller versus Oregon. Supreme Court case that gives us segregation. Plessy versus Ferguson. The Supreme Court case that puts in place clear and present danger during World War I is Schnick versus the U.S. Schnick versus the U.S., which just says you cannot speak out against the government during a time of war. We're trying to get volunteers. What president will be assassinated leaving FDR as president? Yeah, it is McKinley. I don't know why I hesitated. Yeah, it is McKinley. Yep, that was my bad. It's my bad. You had it right. What president had the policy of the square deal?
Who was it, the president after assassination?
Theodore Roosevelt came in as president after that. Who gave us the square deal? President. What president? That is TR. That is Roosevelt. Yep. All right, Wilson came in and gave us the Underwood bill, which will push tariffs back up. Again, we kind of go back to an isolationist policy during World War I at the beginning. The Bull Moose Party of Progressives is based on whose idea? Who creates this third party? It is TR. Very good. How did Wilson achieve his goal of stabilizing our currency? He's going to create this national bank system. What is it called?
Big bank.
Mm-hmm.
Dollar coins.
Mm-hmm. It controls all banks.
All federal. Yeah.
Federal Reserve. Good. Federal Reserve.
You said Wilson?
Yes. Booker T. Washington. He and W.E.B. Du Bois had differing ideals. Booker T. Washington pushed for what?
Didn't he-
Civil rights, like.
Yeah.
No,
He
he
wanted
wanted
African
kind of
Americans
like
to have
census, right?
rights.
They wanted
They're not thinking
separate but equal.
Back to Africa.
He pushed for economic equality first. Booker T said economic equality first. W.E.B. Du Bois said all equal rights now. Okay, make sure you got those two individuals. Plessy versus Ferguson is on here several times, so just a reminder, Plessy versus Ferguson legalizes segregation. Okay. All right, who led the Rough Riders in capturing San Juan Hill? Yeah, I don't know why. A little biased, apparently. I got like a ton of TR questions on here. My bad. Yeah, it's looking like a lot of Roosevelt as answers on here, apparently. All right, what territories did we get from the Spanish-American War? We got 3. Guam,
Puerto Rico.
Philippines, Puerto Rico. There you go. All right, we talked about who the muckrakers were, but muckraker is a nickname for what?
Someone like you exposed to the truth.
Journalists to expose the truth. Good. Open door policies with what country? China. Ooh, this is the one I told you that you guys messed up on your 14-15 test. This is the theory that the only nation to intervene in Latin America is all part of Roosevelt's foreign policy. Yeah. What is it called, though? I'll give you a hint. The first name is his last name.
And it starts with
Oh,
a
the
C.
Roosevelt corollary.
Roosevelt corollary, yeah.
What does it do? Did you say it?
States is the theory that the U.S. will be the only one to intervene in Latin America, our neighborhood, so to speak. Alfred Mann wrote a book talking about having a strong what?
Military.
Got specific Navy.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it is specifically talking about a strong Navy. What is the significance for the phrase, remember the Maine?
Spanish American War.
Good. Reason, yeah, our battle cry, our reason to get into the war with Spain. Yeah. Dang it, I lost a question that I realized that I skipped over. Oh, yeah. Policy of staying out of foreign affairs.
Isolation.
Isolationism. Yep, that's the one I missed. All right, here's getting into World War One. So I'm just about finished. Getting into World War One. And I don't trip you up on this one. I actually did put it in there as the Triple Alliance or the Central Powers. So I didn't mess you up this time. But you do need to know who they are. Who are the Central Powers? Bad guys.
Germany, Austria, Hungary, and Ottoman.
An Ottoman Empire. All right, who are the Allies? Who's the good guys?
Great Britain, Russia, France.
France. There we go. Got it. All right. What event sparked the beginning of World War One?
Yeah, Ferdinand.
Of the Archduke Franz Ferdinand assassination. Good. Zimmerman note tried to convince what country to declare war against us? Mexico. Who was the president at the end of World War One? Wilson. What happened in 1917 to greatly increase Germany's chance of winning? What happened in 1917? Russia leaves. They have their revolution. Good. All right. What is the selective service?
Really
Draft. Good. Changing America into a war material producer became the job of what group? This was part of your IDs list.
Labor unions.
It's like war board.
The War Industries Board. War Industry Board. Again, we're not making uniforms. We're not even clothes. We're making uniforms. Not making lipstick. We're making bullets. How was most of the war paid for? People buying Liberty bonds. How was criticism of the war stopped? What new act is going to be put out?
Like they make you leave or something, like the immigration one.
Part of it, but what's all that called? It actually includes spying too.
Espionage Act.
Yeah.
Espionage and Sedition Act, which, like I said, they're together, so that should probably help you realize which one it is.
Sedition.
Espionage and Sedition Act. Yep. All right. 14 points is going to create what new world organization?
World Peace.
League of Nations. Good. Creates League of Nations. Good. All right. Red Scares. Fear of what?
Communism.
Communism. Fantastic. All right. What does a return to normalcy in relation to foreign policy mean? We go back to being
Isolation.
isolationism. We go back to being isolated. Good. All right. The National Origins Act is going to limit what?
National Origin Act.
Limit the number of what coming in?
Oh,
Immigrants. Limit immigrants coming in. Which of the following scandals happens during Hardin's administration? It's named after the city in which it goes down.
What was the question?
The name of the scandal that happens under Harding's administration. Teapot Dome. Teapot Dome.
Is that the oil thing?
Yes. Yes, it is. Good. Famous flyer of the 1920s. Male famous flyer of the 1920s.
Lindbergh.
Charles Lindbergh. Scopes trial is about what? Teaching. Scopes trial, known as the monkey trial, is about teaching evolution. Good. Teaching evolution. Black leader of the 1920s that advocated return to Africa. Y'all actually said his name instead of Booker T. Washington. You were saying his name.
I know who, like, your thoughts on his name. I mean, if
I'm
I saw it,
terrible with
I
names.
know.
I just,
Yeah.
like,
That's the hard
Names are
part.
hard.
I know. Marcus Garvey.
yeah.
Marcus Garvey. All right. Flapper is referring to
Women.
the new woman of the 1920s. All right. Let's hit you with an amendment. What number amendment gives women the right to vote? I think we already said this. 19th. Good. Name of the British ocean liner that was sunk by a German U-boat. Lusitania. Yeah. Okay. Good question. I think there were several people that actually missed this on your quiz. I'm pretty sure. Where'd it go? No, it wasn't a quiz. It was something else. Anyway, what group of the U.S. was responsible for not ratifying the Treaty of Versailles? It was the Senate. Yeah, I think somebody had put just Congress in general, but it's actually the Senate. Which president campaigned on the theme of return to normalcy?
Harding.
Harding. Let's see. Famous court case of Sacco and Vanzetti involved the issues of radicals and immigrants. I'm just going to give you that one because it would be hard to guess the wording on that one. All right, so I didn't do too bad on my time. I did run through it as fast as I could. So, there's good news. The good news is and I didn't do this on purpose, but apparently there are several repeat questions on there. So the good news is that if you got it right the first time you answered it, then that means you should get it right the second time. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
How many questions you said?
It's 90.
90.
Yeah, it's a good solid 90 questions. And from what I saw, I did not hit you hard on the chapters that you guys didn't do so hot on in the past. Like the 1415 imperialism and progressives, that one a lot of people didn't do so well on. And apparently I didn't put Wild West on there like I thought I did. So
Yeah, there was not much on there. That's okay. Mainly Theodore Roosevelt.
yeah, golly. Man, y'all don't see any kind of bias on that at all, do you?
No.
Man, I didn't realize. He's one of my top 10. One of my top 10 favorites. All right, guys. Do you online, anybody questions, comments, or concerns? The biggest thing is do not miss your midterm tomorrow. That's the biggest thing. Make sure everything's turned in. Make sure you got your study guide turned in, your 1920s skit. You got all your 17 stuff turned in last week. And midterm tomorrow. That's it. All right. I'm going to let y'all go if you're good.